Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings is back on Discovery. We've got the legendary drag racer Ryan Martin here, looking for a three-peat. And so we're talking all about the brand new season. Thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having us on.
15 events, new drivers, $900,000 in prizes. I mean, there's a lot at stake in this new season.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other show or race in the country that has that amount of money up for grabs. So you're exactly right. There's new drivers this year. And I can tell you from the first, 12 events that we've had, there's a lot of crazy stuff that's happened. So I can't wait for people to actually watch the show and start watching from the very beginning and watch how things play out. There's just, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's just so many things that are different this year from last year. One of those things is we were lucky enough to pull off a championship last year. And so they've got a bounty on my head for this year. So it makes people really have a drive to try to knock me out, and it goes up every round. So, you got 5 rounds on Invitational on Saturday. So it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, $10,000. So if you race me in the finals and you outrun me, that's $10,000 extra dollars, which that's a $50,000 purse. And that's almost unheard of in drag racing.
You kind of led me into my next question as far as having that bounty, on you. Is it a different strategy as far as like hoping to win, the first time in the season versus knowing you've got a few wins and knowing that everybody's kind of trying to beat you?
Yeah, I didn't know what to think about it when they first announced it. I was kind of thinking to myself, I feel like that really puts a target on my back. And I was worried about, well, not only do I have the pressure of everybody trying to outrun me already because I've won the championship, but then you give them money and then all of a sudden they're doing whatever they got to do. They're pushing their car to the other end no matter what. So, I had to warm up to it, but after I won the first, I won a couple of events this season, which I'm not going to spoil it for you. You need to watch. But I've been fortunate enough to win a few events and I've put that extra $10,000 in my pocket. And for me, all of a sudden that bounty became more appealing.
Let's go back to the beginning. First time, drag racing at 16 years old, your first car, an 89 Mustang. What was your first love of cars and what kind of got you into the spirit of this?
I don't know. I think if you're a car guy, that's just something that hits you, when you're 15, 16 years old. And for me, it was, I wanted a car. I wanted my first car to be cool because I was going to high school. I wanted something. And at the time, Mustangs were it. Like that was, if you had one of those and you were in the drag racing scene, you had something that was fast, that could compete, but also that looked good, that everybody liked. And so I remember, we worked our tail off trying to get what we got till I got that car when I was 16 years old. And if I didn't get that car, I don't think I would be where I was today.
That's amazing. First shop at 25, because not only are you, working on your own vehicles, but you're also helping everybody else out in the community as well too. Talk a little bit about that spirit of community here for the drag racers.
Yeah, I think the whole car community is a culture, and the whole car community as a whole is a tight-knit family no matter what. Now, when you pull up to somebody in on the other lane here, that's a different story. You're not buddies. You're going to try to get to the other end at all costs, whatever it takes. But you're right. It really brings people together and just the different scenarios of, and you can even see it here at No Prep Kings. A lot of drivers will help each other. We've got some team things kind of going on here. The 405 is a tight-knit team, and you got Texas as a team. You got New Orleans as a team. And there's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of, helping one another to try to get somebody to the next lane,
Let's talk about some of the dangerous situations, because we get to see an episode where the weather really plays a factor into how you guys are racing. And obviously, things don't necessarily go out, as planned because of weather conditions aren't optimal for that. Talk a little bit about, weather conditions and how that affects everybody.
Yeah, weather conditions swing so many different ways. Like the hot can affect, the cold can affect. Rarely do you ever get a perfect racetrack condition as far as weather goes. And when you do, usually you have some really good tight racing. But if the racetrack gets too cold, there's no traction. But the catch-22 of that is the cars make more horsepower. So if it's a 50-degree day outside, well, you're going to make the most horsepower you possibly can, but you're not going to have the bite at the racetrack, which creates sometimes a dangerous situation, right? So if you have more horsepower, less traction, you've got to really power manage that to get to the other end, without smashing into the wall or whatever the case is.
Obviously, being from the Midwest, we love to talk about the weather. So one more weather question for you. I know in baseball here, sometimes when we have teams from Florida, from California, and it's happens to be colder weather, that the Cubs or Sox know how to play in the cold weather. So we kind of have that home team advantage. What's it like racing? You just mentioned as far as like when it's too hot, when it's too cold, when you're going to different cities. How do you prepare for something like that?
Well, I won't spoil it, but we just came from Vandermeer, Colorado. And Vandermeer, Colorado, basically outside of Denver, is one of the trickiest racetracks to race in. And we didn't do all that great. And so that being said, elevation, as far as the weather goes, elevation change is crucial to the horsepower of these race cars. So you may go to one racetrack it's hot outside, car may be down on horsepower a little bit, but the biggest thing is the track gets slimy because heat and rubber, what happens to it. It's not hard, it gets slimy, and then all of a sudden the tires don't hook as well. So there's definitely the great thing about MPK is there's 32 invitational drivers that come from all over the country. So some of those guys may have raced at that racetrack a lot. There's a couple of guys that were from the Denver area up there, and those guys did pretty well. And that's the same way with a lot of the racetracks. If you get kind of a home court advantage, if you will, those are usually the guys that you'll see shine at those places.
So Ryan, thank you so much for your time today. Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings on Discovery Mondays right now. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.